Now joined by our foreign editor, Sophie Mokoena, just for a summary of this briefing. Sophie, a very good morning and thanks for making the time. Just remind us and our viewers once again the purpose of these briefings.
Briefing is to share information, particularly from the African Center for Disease Control, to make the Africans themselves aware in terms of what the CDC is doing.
Can you give us a summary of the COVID-19 outbreak and the patterns that have been coming out of Africa?
Well, clearly the importance of this briefing is to ensure that the Africans on the continent and the world at large is fully aware what the CDC is doing. You'd recall that the center was established during that crisis of the Ebola, where Africa took a decision that they must have this center in Addis Ababa to ensure that there is cooperation, but there is coordination to ensure that the continent is able to stop the Ebola crisis that was ravaging the West African countries. Now you have a situation where the center is dealing with all types of health challenges on the continent, malaria, you talk about HIV and AIDS. And now with this COVID-19, they have geared their focus towards addressing the COVID-19. And today, the director of the CDC was giving a briefing every Thursday this time around. He does give briefing to media around the continent in terms of what they have picked up and what they are doing on the continent. And the media is able to ask burning questions. For an example, this issue of Madagascar, the Tanzania matter. And I think it's good that we are able, as Africans, particularly the media, on behalf of the citizens of the country, to ask questions to the CDC. And then the CDC can go further to speak to the heads of state. For an example, the director made an example that we are very fortunate as a continent that we are facing this crisis at the time where at the helm you have a leadership at the commission level of Faki Mohammed, and then at the government level or the heads of state level, the assembly, you have President Cyril Ramaphosa, the South African president, who is the chair of the AU. And he pointed out that they constantly meet as assembly, but including the commission, to talk about this crisis. And therefore, there is a leadership. And at the leadership level of these two leaders, the commissioner and the president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, the chair of the AU, they take the issue of COVID-19 very serious. One, that it is a health crisis, it's an economic crisis, but also it's a security crisis. Health crisis because people are going to die, and Africa is vulnerable. Security crisis, when the poor, the marginalized, can't survive, they become restless. It's a recipe for unrest. When you have the economy collapsing, it's the complete death of countries, but also the world in general. We're talking about a situation where others are saying, the world must just declare that we are facing depression that we saw some many, many years ago, and therefore it's a world crisis. And I think that's what the CDC was saying today.
Is media on the African continent taking advantage of these briefings and disseminating the information properly, in your opinion?
Well, I can speak on behalf of SABC with a fully fledged foreign or international desk and our colleagues in regions, at head office, everywhere we are in our 3 different platforms, that's radio, digital and television. We do take these briefings seriously because you'd realize that we are the only broadcaster on the continent that was live, not only in terms of television, but also in terms of live streaming on our SABC online platform. We also had this briefing live, and our digital platform goes out to the entire world. You can catch us from wherever you are around the world of course, with SABC news channel only on the continent. So we do take these briefings seriously. You know that the WHO briefings every Monday in the evening, afternoon or evening, Wednesday and Fridays, we are there. The WHO regional briefings and other briefings that we identify as important, we do that. With our economic desk as well, they do take the important briefings from World Economic Forum, from IMF, from World Bank when this matter is being discussed. And also our political desk is out there doing stories, but also bringing those live media briefings, particularly the ones in Pretoria where ministers are sharing information. Our regions are doing the same, looking at what's happening in different parts of South Africa. Today they are all out in the country looking at the last hours of this free movement before 12 o'clock tonight. So as a South African Broadcasting Corporation, the leadership at the SABC, both at news and the top leadership and the board, took a clear decision that we are going to do our public mandate service to inform the public while some were here and there entertained. That is why at some point in time you'll see that the terrestrial channels 1, 2, 3, they overlap and take the news channel SE to share that information. So there's a serious and high commitment from the leadership of the South African Broadcasting Corporation, from the board level executives, and of course our head of news, Patiswa, who has taken a clear decision that we will do our public mandate service, and our colleagues working very, very hard in the country, the bureaus, the correspondents. We don't sleep. So I think it's the same with other media houses, but I can speak based on what SABC is doing, and it will continue to do that.
Sophie Mokoena is the foreign editor at the SABC News. Workers at Unibisco in Devland, in the south of Johannesburg, are up in arms following an issuing of dismissal letters by the employer. They had been sent home since the beginning of the lockdown, but when they came back following the introduction of level 4 lockdown, they were issued with dismissal letters. Abongile Dumako is live from Devland.